Hey everyone, welcome to the Camino Cafe. I am so happy that you are here, whether you are watching us on our YouTube channel or are listening to our new podcast. And I just wanted to say, if you enjoy what we're doing here, please give us a thumbs up on our YouTube channel, make a comment, or give us a 5-star rating if you're enjoying the podcast. It really helps us to let people know that you're enjoying what we're doing. And if you do make a comment on the YouTube channel or you send me an email, I guarantee I respond to everything. So please feel free to send me a message. Who knows, maybe you want to be interviewed for the show. I would love that. And if you ever have any questions or anything, please just feel free to reach out to me. I started the Camino Cafe with a friend a while ago, and we started it because we wanted to give a place for pilgrims to come back and tell their stories. And it really just started as a Facebook page and a Facebook group, and then it kept growing. And then we started putting things on YouTube, and then I said, you know what, I think I want to do a podcast as well. And the whole purpose of this is for us to get together with other pilgrims so that we can share our stories. We can create community and connection beyond the path. And you know what? If we inspire you to go and walk another Camino or walk your first Camino, then everything that we're doing is so worth it. So thank you for being here. And I know that our guest today will tick all of those boxes. She and I could probably chat for a couple of hours, but we know all of you only have so much time. So we will try to narrow it down and talk about the most important things today. But today with me, I have Elena Skvirski, which I knew I was going to mess that up. See, I jinxed myself. Elena, sorry about that. So welcome to the Camino Cafe. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Lee. It's a pleasure. I'm so glad we could get together on this glorious day.
Oh, me too. So can you tell our listeners and viewers where you are in the world right now?
We live in Denver, Colorado with my family, with my husband and 3 kids. So I'm a mommy who loves to travel the world and write books.
I know. I was going to say, you know, when I started reading about you, I was just fascinated. I mean, you've been on the Camino several times. You are a mom. You had a successful career prior to pivoting to now running a Camino tour business. And if all of that wasn't enough, you became a best-selling Camino author. So, I mean, pretty impressive. It's really interesting to kind of watch how your life has evolved. And then I heard that you took your 6-month-old daughter on the Camino, and I'm beyond fascinated about how that went. So I want to make sure we talk about all of those things today. So let's start first with, you know, the easy question I think we always ask each other when we first meet a Camino pilgrim is, how'd you find out about the Camino in the first place? What planted the seed?
It was actually Paulo Coelho's book, Pilgrimage. One of my favorite books is actually The Alchemist, the one that he wrote, and the main character in that book is Santiago. So little did I know that I would be picking up another one of his books called The Pilgrimage. And I've read it many years before I actually had the chance to do the Camino because of busy career and being a mom. And it took a while for everything to line up. But his book is really what sparked my interest in the Camino. It was the first time I heard about it, right? And then everything starts snowballing and you start hearing Camino everywhere. I'm sure many of our friends have experienced that. Once your mind is on it, the Camino is everywhere.
Exactly. The seed is planted. It's going to happen, right?
For sure.
So what was your first one? Did you do the Frances the first time?
Yes, I had a short period of time that I took from work around Thanksgiving. So I did the Francaise around Thanksgiving, so end of November.
Wow.
But there was a section of the Francaise. It was lovely. And I just wanted to say it was a little bit of frost on the ground. You know, by the afternoon, the gloves and the hat would come off and I would be in a t-shirt walking through glorious Galicia. It wasn't cold like, you know, as it would be in the mountains with the snow in winter, and it was lovely. I've met so many amazing Camino friends that we're still in touch. And so that was my first Camino
What year was that?
in 2012.
2012. And then how many, I don't even know if you can keep track. How many have you walked since then?
You know, we walked many times on the Portuguese way because I do it for fun with my family and for planning purposes for my work. And I definitely love walking all the way to Finisterre and Muxia. That is very mystical and beautiful part of the Camino. So many, but usually in different sections. So for different reasons, some is time constraints, some is little kids, and but many times, which I'm so fortunate to say that I lost count. Isn't that amazing?
Hey,
I'm
I think
so
I'm
blessed.
that's fantastic. So when you look at all the times that you've walked, whether it was a solo walk with your family or on tour, what would you say was, if you had to pick one, if you had to really narrow it down, what was the best moment you've had on the Camino?
I think maybe the best moment was when we did a section of the Camino Francés with my husband, my oldest teenage son, and the youngest. And the youngest took, he was just about to turn a year old, and he took his first steps on the Camino. And wore this, it was around Ocebreiro, and he's been practicing the whole time, leading up to it. So, but I could say that his official first steps was on the Camino, and he wore Stella's baby shoes. She wore them a lot longer because she's a girl, and Arthur's foot, grew a lot faster. But both of them had the same shoes on the Camino, their first pair. So I would say that was probably the coolest thing to see, the older one who has grown up with Camino in his life, the younger one taking his first official steps in the world. It was so significant for me on so many different levels, and then to have everyone come together on the sacred journey as a family. So that was magnificent.
Wow. Just wow. That is,
I know.
a beautiful story, a beautiful thing to happen.
Thank you.
What would you say was the most challenging moment on the Camino for you when you look back over all of your Caminos? What was the hardest day or hardest moment?
I think the hardest was, and we have overcome it. So I want to see that challenge as inspiration also as I talk about it. And I had actually taken the time to write about it more extensively. So it was on the same trip where we took 6-month-old Stella with us to walk on the Portuguese way. But the very first, we took this big wheeled baby stroller with us. And the very first night we arrived, we tore the tire up so badly that we took a little patch kit, and of course I took out the spare stroller tire to save on weight, which wasn't like the smartest thing to do, right? So we arrive after dark in our starting point. We're on the side of the road with Dobry trying to see what's going on with the tire. You can't patch. I don't know what happened, if we drove over glass. And I'm on the side of the road breastfeeding the baby. That's like, everyone is jet lagged, the tire's torn. And I was like, we have come so far to to have this happen, because the baby was little. We really wanted her to have the rest time and be able to sleep in the stroller. We didn't want her to be upright the whole time, just for baby comfort reasons and so on. So it was like to have this tool fall apart like the hour we get off the ferry. It was just something else. And instead what happened, so we had a restless night, and what happened was we decided to go to a bike store to see if they would have similar tubes for the tires. And the first store was closed. We walked across the whole town. The next, the store is shuttered, and it's like half an hour after the starting time, hours opening time. No one's there. It's dark. Inside, it's drizzling. And I was like, what are we gonna do? And all of a sudden this man came. He was the store owner, and he opened the doors, and like, my Spanish was terrible. This already happened in Spain on the Portuguese way. And I'm just pointing and crying, and the baby, and he was just like, no worries. So it turned out that our stroller tires was the same as the kids' bike tire size, like for whatever age. And so in 2 seconds, he changed the tire, gave us, all these spare accessories. And then he pulled out his credential. And he told us that he biked Via de la Plata 3 times. And so I think, and he biked it because he was totally the bike guy. So I think it was one of those moments that was meant to be for us to realize that even in the hardest time, we shouldn't give up, that help is always on the way. Maybe we have to wait, maybe we have to actually be open to receiving that help instead of getting in the panic mode the way I did back then. It was like, oh my God, what we're gonna do, and we're starting later and we may not even be able to start. It's our first day of walking. Is the whole thing a disaster? And you see that the energy of that is just totally different from when you are like, oh, okay, I know my angels are with me, whether they're on the bike or on foot or on donkey. I know they're coming. And if I just give myself a chance, to chill and take a breath, and so it's just like your composure changes. So that was the hardest moment of the Camino. But it was also teaching a lot of lessons for me that I'm still unpacking, even years later. Stella is about to turn 5 years old next month. And so trying to figure out where we are in time, because the year has just been flown by, and the months and the weeks out. No idea what month we're in. So yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful story. I think so many things packed in there. The Camino provides, right? And having faith that not only does the Camino provide, but life provides, right? The universe is always providing for us. And then also the concept of that Camino Angel, here you walk up to a store and he opens the door, and he's a pilgrim too, right? And now he's paying it forward and helping you continue that journey. That's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's also a lesson how a lot of times, like, our fears and things that start swirling around in our head in potentially stressful situations can like carry us to, oh my God, the Camino is over. And that seems to be my tendency too. And I need to remind myself to say, okay, look, he fixed it in 3 seconds, right? He has the skill to help me. So I don't need to go in the panic mode that the Camino is over. And so I just think we need to give ourselves grace. And I wanted to bring that point up, because I know many pilgrims have different teaching situations like that, where they may think, oh, the global pandemic, the Camino is over. Oh, hip surgery, the Camino is over. And myriad other reasons. But guess what? The Camino is not over, and the Camino is just beginning. And the Camino is always just waiting to embrace you and to show you how much love is out there for you. If we can only just chill and take those little baby steps, just to get there and be open, and not go in the panic mode, which I tend to do often. So I'll fess up to that. So
And that was so Beautifully said. So beautifully said, Elena. I can see why you were able to pivot to becoming an author as well. You have definitely a gift with words.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I wanted to say that when I heard about just you and your story, and I thought about the courage that you had to have to, as a woman, to travel alone and walk that first Camino solo, which I know takes so much courage personally, right? But the fact that you walked with a 6-month-old and the fact that you walked with a teenager, because I've had a 6-month-old and a teenager. So I really want to draw out, like, what gave you the courage to try that? Because I cannot even begin to imagine having taken my daughter when she was a teenager, nor could I have imagined taking a baby. So what gave you the courage? If there's somebody out there sitting that says, hey, look, I can't really afford to go and, get childcare, this is my situation, or I really want my family to go. And, what words of encouragement would you give to them so that they know that they can do it too?
Well, I guess the best words that I could give, if I could walk and after the C-section with the 6-month-old, breastfeeding, diapers, and the stroller, hey, you could totally do it. But for me, it wasn't about courage. It was just about something that I felt called to do. And so I think once it feels right in your heart, you're going to find a way to do it. And so if there's a certain way we want our kids to grow up, we're just going to do it because it feels right. And so what I would say is for parents and grandparents, there's so many beautiful family combinations and generations that can come together on the Camino, is just ask yourself, does this feel like something that is the right thing to do in my heart? What does my heart say? Do I need alone time? Do I need to go and just figure out what it is to be me without the responsibilities of being a parent, without all these expectations on myself from life, from everyone else who relies on me in life? Or do I feel like I'm looking for a different kind of experience? Do I feel like it would be a lovely bonding time with my child or grandchild? And so I would say that would be the first question that the person would ask. And the second encouragement is, if the answer is yes, then definitely go for it, because you could totally figure it out, just like every other situation you have figured out in life and brought you joy. For example, the same first steps. We weren't born knowing how to walk, but we had fallen, figured out how to walk, and look how much joy it has brought us now, right? We learned and now we can walk the Camino. So if you can figure out the logistics, and there's so much help out there to help you figure out the logistics of going with the family, you're going to have a wonderful experience. So I got write this down. You're going to have a wonderful experience.
So well said. So well said. And I love your story of how we take our first steps and the fact that Arthur literally took his first steps on the Camino. So what a wonderful connection there with that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Listening to your heart, asking your heart, what does your heart say? And then honoring what it says to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really, really good advice. So let's pivot to how your heart told you at some point that, hey, I'm going to leave this other career and I'm now going to open up a Camino tour business. What was your heart telling you there? And tell us a little bit about the business.
So I think the heart message was definitely there. But the way the transition came about, it was actually a whole body message. It was the heart, right? When Stella was born with C-section, it had brought in a host of health challenges, and I simply could not go back to a desk job in the corporate world, you know, for various reasons that had to be with my body. So my whole body was telling me. So it was kind of unplanned. You know, I always thought that Camino would be a hobby forever. You know, after my first Camino, I started a meetup group here in Colorado for anyone who's in Colorado. It's called Camino de Santiago, Colorado. And now we have over 600 members.
Oh my gosh, huge shout out to everyone. Awesome.
I know. And I've always thought that that would be a wonderful hobby, but then at some point the whole body was talking to me, and that's when I said, okay, well, what is my passion? That is my passion. And so can we pivot and bring my passion into an occupation? And that's exactly what happened. And now I enjoy teaching Camino preparation classes. I enjoy supporting all kinds of pilgrims with planning and reservations and backpack transport, because, hey, I know that we all have different challenges in life that may not allow us the time to get everything figured out. Some people enjoyed the adventure more than the planning part of it. Everyone has different responsibilities. People have different physical situations, you know, to live with, just like I did. They may not be able to carry a backpack physically, but they can walk forever, just like I can. So that's how it came about. Like, so it was kind of hard to miss. I couldn't go back to doing what I was doing before, as much as I loved it. So
that makes a lot of sense. And I'm sorry to hear that you do have those physical challenges, but also at the same time, very glad that it gave you this opportunity to pivot in such a positive, wonderful way.
And another layer of positivity on that, it was the Camino that had helped me work through that health challenge, because we always said, okay, well, Stella's going to be born and we're going on the Camino. And I'm stubborn. I wasn't going to change that plan. So from, you know, the first days of, you know, crying, just walking around the block, holding onto my husband's hand, you know, after the surgery, to, you know, my oldest son saying, okay, mommy, pick up the pace. I'm going to push the stroller, but you're going to have to keep up with me, you know, if you want to walk the Camino. So that was the positivity. It was really, it could have been different if I didn't have that plan in mind. I could have said, well, I'm just gonna take it easy. I'm not gonna keep walking and walking and walking. And I really feel like it was the Camino that helped me come back to my health and to my strength. As weird as it sounds, through that, you know, that challenge, that, you know, actually helped me to be stronger and better. And so then when we got there, loaded up with all the backpacks and the baby and the stroller and the diapers and everything, you know, it was a physical challenge, but it was mental too. But hey, it worked out wonderfully. We had an amazing time. So
Sounds like it. So I have some experience working with Camino tour groups that, and typically the ones I've worked with have been based really in Europe, I would say, all of them. And so I'm very intrigued because, you know, just sitting here talking to you, it's so comfortable. You make everybody feel at ease, I'm sure. I'm just wondering, you know, if somebody were to contact you and start working with you, what could they expect? You know, like, what's it like working with you and planning a Camino or going on a Camino? Like, you offer both, right? You offer planning assistance as well as actual tours.
yeah, so we offer self-guided tours, which means you would work with me to figure out your schedule, or even before the schedule, you know, we would talk about what speaks to your heart, what route calls you, how do you even pick a route, what conditions or aspirations do you have that you would like to achieve with your Camino, and from there we would pick a route. Then once we do that, I would help to put all the hotel reservations in place, you know, arrange for your backpack transport, and just have those conversations so that you really know what to expect, how to prepare. And the thing about it is, it's something that I enjoy doing. I could talk about the Camino forever. So it's not going to be like that you call me and I send you a date and itinerary and say, thank you very much. No, it's not like that. I love the Camino. So that's what I feel is different about what I do, because I simply enjoy being there for the people, to help them feel empowered and supported, because I know it was a big step for me to figure out things in different languages, in different towns, different time frames, and not even know what to expect. And I also know for many people, this could be the first international overseas trip that they take.
Right.
So that whole component of not feeling supported does not have to be there. I will be your support and encouragement. And of course, we'll put all the logistics in place for you so that you feel like you're not alone in this journey. So that's what I think is special about how I handle things with people who ask for my support.
Okay, well, I'm kind of feeling like, I mean, that's an amazing service that you're providing. And now I'm feeling like I'm mislabeling what you do. I don't know if Camino Tour Group is the right label. It almost sounds like you are a Camino mentor, a Camino coach, a Camino guide. I don't know what the right word is. Like, do you have a label that you kind of place on it, or?
Call me a Camino Angel. I don't.
I love it.
my whole thing has been about like not boxing ourselves in the definitions which actually restrict our abilities and our understanding of ourselves. So I don't know, I'm there for you to support you, whatever you want to call it. I'm not gonna put a box around it, because
Angel, I think
I
that's.
haven't thought about it, honestly, so that's why I can't think of it right off the top.
Yeah, I kind of just feel like the label that I said that you own a Camino tour business kind of restricted, right? We have of what that means. And after hearing your story, I'm like, she's way more than that. So yeah, thank you for saying that. Well, I would like to pivot now, spend our last couple of minutes together talking about your book. And that was kind of what drew us together, as I met you on a Facebook group and saw your book. And I was very intrigued by that. I run a couple of Camino book clubs. And most of our books have been, point to point kind of memoirs, or, things, funny books about it, or I don't know, more nonfiction kinds of things. And so this was really one of the first books that I ran across that had kind of a different story about the Camino. It was told in a different way. And so I was very intrigued by that. So the book is called Camino Mysteries. And I wonder if you could just kind of, there's the cover, and it's beautiful. Let's just start with, I really want to celebrate the cover. So
thank you.
Talk about, because it's gorgeous. Maybe introduce your book by telling us a little bit about the cover and how that connects to the Camino, and then the actual story that you tell in it.
Of course, wonderful. So I'm sure everyone would recognize the cathedral in the background, lit up at night, and you could see the Milky Way up in the sky, because that's very important for me to celebrate the connection of the earthly and the celestial aspirations and the teachings of the Camino. So I really wanted to bring the Milky Way, because on Camino Francés, it stretches east to west, kind of like the Camino. And this, I don't even know, instrument up in the sky is actually something that designer transposed from a picture I took in Ponferrada in Templar's Castle. It's an ancient astrolabe instrument. It was that was used for navigation in the old times. So she transposed the picture and she put it up in the sky. And to me, it has a lot of different meanings, navigating by the stars, listening to your heart. having your connection to the higher realms. That's the symbolism of it here. And here we have our cat Tiger, who's part of the story.
Oh, nice.
This contraption, mysterious contraption, and the kids are here. So it's the fictional story of my 3 children walking the Camino, and they end up walking. Well, I won't give it away too much, but
Yes.
the beginning is that you see the children running the albergue with the family in Spain on the Camino Frances. And so they see the pilgrims come and go every day. And that's their life, is running the albergue with mom and dad. But yet they're missing that experience of actually walking the Camino. And so in the book, they start going to Santiago on a very specific mission, that ends up getting them into many different situations with the Knights Templar and the Celts on the Camino. So it's very dreamy. It's very magical story that still gives you an idea what it's like to be on Camino, but I would say it's very, very untraditional in that it reads like a fairy tale and has a lot of, concepts that opened up to me while I was on the Camino that I wanted to convey through this fictional story of the children having a Camino journey. So it's many different aspects of creativity that played so magically in this story, and I'm so grateful for my guidance, how it all turned out. And so
That's what okay, first off, what a clever idea. I love the whole premise of, the kids living in this albergue, they're seeing pilgrims come and go and have never experienced the magic of the Camino themselves. Brilliant idea. So where did this come from? Was there some point when you were walking the Camino and all of a sudden this idea comes in your head, or how did that happen?
Well, I think the idea of running the albergue, like, don't most of the pilgrim have that secret desire to one day run the albergue on the Camino? So I think that's where that idea came from. And then once the inspiration started flowing, everything just came together in different beautiful ways. Like, I actually wrote this book over a couple of years, and the first part of the book I typed on the computer, and then it took a pause, and years later I realized that I was really waiting for the third character, my third child, to join the crew. And once I realized that, it was really amazing. Just I had a pen and paper and just kept writing. It was, almost like a celestial download of a lot of different things. And then I went back and worked on the plot of the book. But the interesting thing was, when I was typing up the handwritten sections, I did not have the recollection of what I wrote down. So it was a very interesting process, a very inspired from above process. So I could tell you there were sections, it's not like I thought through certain sections and said, oh, okay, Stella did this. No, I didn't even remember writing that down. It's only once I typed it up, then I said, oh, okay, this would be good for character development, or this would be good for a fun plot story kind of thing. That's when I put those touches in, but a lot of it was just magical, really. That's the only way I can explain it, especially considering that I've always identified myself as being a painter and an artist. So
yeah. This was your first book.
Yeah, I wrote short stories before, but to actually put it together in a book like that, it's beyond my comprehension. That's what I could tell you. So
Wow, just kind of like a chill moment that, this is coming to you otherworldly, like, it's not like you just sit down and are planning it out. It just came to you. I mean,
Mm-mm.
to me, that's always how we know we're doing the right thing, right? When it just flows.
That's what it was. I just couldn't stop the pen. I just like every time I sat down and relaxed, I had to make sure I had enough sheets of paper and a couple pens because the pens would run out of ink. But yeah, I wrote that much by hand, they would run out of ink. So I had to make sure I was prepared for a certain writing session. And then I would take it, it was something else.
Wow, how long were these sessions where you were running out of ink? Like, would you sit down and it was like a couple of hours? Like,
Yeah, a couple hours. Yeah. Yeah.
how many words would you say was written during one of these longest sessions?
I don't know. It was just like sheets of paper. I'm not sure. I mean, it just as fast as I could write. And sometimes I would take a breath and like say, okay, what is going on here? And then I would keep writing again. But every time I could get myself in that inspired mode, it would just keep flowing. And there was some idea of the plot. I think the first thing I did, I had the chapter titles, but it was strange. It wasn't like, oh, the first chapter is gonna be this. No, it was like, let's say 20 titles, and I didn't know which chapter would be number 5 and which one would be 6. I would just, open up my sheet with chapter titles and look at it. And let's say today, my eyes fell on Santiago on the horizon. Okay, so then I'm gonna write that chapter now, Santiago on the horizon. So it was really strange. And by the way, it was super fun to work with the designer to develop the albergue's own, stamp.
Yes.
So that was inspired by this consecration cross. Maybe it's easier to show it on the cup.
Oh, wow.
Consecration cross in the cathedral where we have the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end. And we have the sun and the moon. And so with that idea, we put the shell on there and our cat tiger's picture. And so I actually made a real rubber stamp that when I do the book signings, I now stamp that as the first, or if someone brings a credential, I can stamp that as their first stamp in the credential. So it's just been an amazing creative process to have all these different aspects come together like that.
Oh, it sounds like it. And it's so interesting how you are a very detailed person, because it sounds like when you're doing planning a trip for someone that you are very capable of doing the logistics, but you also come across to me as someone who can, go with the flow, who can jump and then figure it out, that doesn't have to have all that. So it's really interesting to look at your skill set and personality and how you can kind of flow between those two worlds and do those things. I wanted to say that your book has great reviews. It became a bestseller. And I just wondered, if you could compare and contrast what, trying to get a book published can be a thing, right? And the whole writing of the book. When you look at the things that you've been doing the last several years, from walking the Camino to starting your business to writing a best-selling book, are there some comparisons to what it's like walking from stage to stage on the Camino? Or, did you feel like there are some similarities in those processes?
I think so. And I think it's two things. First is take the baby step.
Mm.
Take the first couple baby steps that you need, even if you're not sure of what is the big plan, right? Like when we walk the Camino, we don't know everything we're gonna encounter on that stage. And then it may be a long stage, it may be a short stage, it could be flat, it could be hilly, it could be hot, it could be raining. But either way, we have to take the baby steps, right? Because once you get over, you know, the bushes and the fence, you can see farther. And once you see over the fence, you could see farther. And once you see over the hill, you see farther again. But it's really, and the second component of it is to trust in the magic of that everything is exactly how it's meant to be, and that you are always in the right space and place in the right time. So that, I would say, comes together both in walking the Camino, in any kind of occupation that we do from the heart that really answers to our soul calling, you know, to the actual walk, to the business, you know, it's trusting in the magic of everything coming perfectly together just for you. It's there. You just have to have that trust. Take the baby steps and see what's around the corner. Maybe you'll see a blooming lilac bush that smells really good. And maybe as you're smelling the lilac bush, you know, a friend will come and say, hey, how about we go check out the roses on the Camino? And it's just that every little step gives us different perspective. But if we never move, we're not going to see what's around the corner. And that's the big courage of the Camino. Mm-hmm. Is that we're willing to open ourselves up to the opportunities by taking that step. And we're not expecting that the unknown around the corner is going to bring us fear and disaster. We have expectation that the unknown of the Camino, i.e. life, has the blessings waiting to unfold for us in magical ways. Then hey, keep on walking. That's just kind of how I look at things. So we don't have to expect fear. And if you do have fear, I always tell to my daughter, well, don't be scared of your fears. Sure, okay, we have them, but don't be scared of them. And, you know.
Well, I think you have provided a great example, being a real mentor to her and showing her that you can overcome fear, that, yeah, you can have fear, but still walk. Mm-hmm. Still take that first step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, and the other example is in these prayer beads that I have. And I know it's hard to see on, there it is. Do you see it? The little light shining?
Yes.
So it's the labradorite beads that technically, if you look at it from one perspective, it's just the gray beads, okay? But if you look at it at the right angle, and we got lucky, you could see that beautiful blue, purple, turquoise glow that will light up in the right circumstances. And that's what is always a reminder for me of Camino Magic, that things may look ordinary, but in the right frame of mind, you're going to catch that glimpse, and it's going to be your inspiration. And that, and someone may look at you and just see the gray beads, and that's okay, because you had seen that light and you can't unsee it, and you're just going to keep going and being forever changed by that light that you had seen, that even if it was a little glimpse, you're not going to forget it. So that's what these prayer beads are signifying for me. And I can't believe that we got lucky to talking about, because you only see it in a certain light and stuff like that. So thank you.
Well, I gotta say that the brightest light, I think, in this video interview and audio interview today is your light. Is so bright. And I want to end it on this note, because I think you gave some great advice, that just take the first baby step and trust the magic of the Camino. And you are a living example of that. And I so appreciate your story, your vulnerability, and sharing it with all of us. And I wish you all the success and everything that you continue to do. I can't wait to see what's next on your journey. And I want to let everyone know that I will have links to your tour company, your book. So, no one worry, you'll be able to find her after this interview. And I trust that the right people are going to come to you and seek guidance for their Camino. And I'm so excited for their Caminos to start. So thank you so much for coming to the Camino Cafe today.
Oh my gosh. And who makes the Camino Cafe so wonderful is the amazing host that you are, and how welcoming and kind you are. And to invite us all into this beautiful space that you created for all the pilgrims and for me to come and join you. So I really have to give deep gratitude for your work, because what you're doing is amazing and uniting everyone in this beautiful welcome space. So thank you so much for your light and for shining so brightly to attract all of us and keep us feel comfortable and warm. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And buen camino to you and everything you do.
Thank you for that kindness. That's so sweet. And I really appreciate today. Thank you, everyone that is listening or watching today. We're glad that you came here, and we hope that you will connect with both of us somewhere down the road. Maybe we'll see you on the Camino. Goodbye, everyone. Until next time. Buen Camino.
Bye, buen camino.